This is an instructional video on how to install a twin under-sink water filter. Before we go through that, we're just going to run through all the items you're going to need to complete the task, including all your tools. So we need one sediment filter, one carbon cartridge, two housings, one double bracket with the housing lids attached, one water filter tap, one pressure limiting valve, which is also a dual check valve. This will stop the water from backflowing into your town water, so it must be used. Two 1/4 inch male to 1/4 inch push fits, both John Guest fittings. One 7/16 female to 1/4 inch push fit, also a John Guest fitting. One ASV 10, which is also a check valve. Okay, you need a box spanner, or you can use a normal spanner about 5/8 of an inch. One housing spanner, some plumbing tape, a power drill, a panel drill bit, a 13mm good quality drill bit for drilling through your sink, some John Guest tubing, and also just a pair of sharp cutting implement to make sure you get a nice clean cut on that tubing. Okay, so that's all you need, so we'll begin to show you how to install that. The first thing Clear Choice Water plumbers do before installing the under-sink filter is to make a hole for the water filter faucet or tap. So it's a good idea to actually place a bit of electrical tape over the area that you're going to drill into. It just stops the drill from moving around, makes it a bit more secure. Also plug your plug into your sink to save anything going down the plug hole that might come off. So select the lowest speed on your drill and using the panel drill bit, create a pilot hole in the area of where you want your faucet to go. Try not to put too much pressure on it and try not to let the stainless steel heat up too much. So it's a good idea to let the drill do as much of the work for you without applying too much pressure. So once that pilot hole is drilled, remove the panel drill bit and get your 13mm drill bit to create the hole size that you need for the faucet. Make sure your drill's tightened up. Again, try not to put too much pressure on the actual sink itself, letting the drill do most of the work. Using the slow speed. Then you can remove the tape and you'll have a hole there ready for your water filter tap. Now we're just going to show you how to put your tap or place your tap into your sink and fit it properly. This is probably one of the most awkward parts of the installation. So all Clear Choice water filter taps come with an escutcheon plate, which also has an O-ring underneath, which stops any leakage or water coming through. So you can use your tap with the escutcheon plate in the sink, or the alternative is, if you don't want to use that escutcheon plate, you can have the tap placed directly onto your sink for a different type of look. Okay. So once the tap's inserted into the sink, what you would do is get your fittings and place them over the thread. And tighten that nut up as much as you can with your fingers. Then once you can't do that anymore, get your box spanner and tighten that up as much as you can. Try not to over tighten it. Then you grab your 7/16 female to 1/4 inch push fit fitting and place that over the end of the thread, and once again tightening it up with your hands. And then just grab your spanner and just tighten that up. Again, not too much, just enough that it's just a bit more than what you're able to do with your hands itself. So that's how your tap is finished and what it will look like from underneath with those fittings, ready for the John Guest tubing just to push straight into that fitting on the end. Just to follow up on the last instructions, we're just going to show you how to install that tap in real time. So placing your water tap into the hole that you created, using the pieces to put in underneath, place them up through the thread, tightening that nut with your fingers as tight as you can. And once you've done as much of that with your fingers as you can, you need to grab your box spanner and tighten it up a bit more. Try not to over tighten it, but make sure it's on securely. Okay, then you grab your 7/16 female John Guest fitting. Again, place the piece on the end of the thread, tightening it up with your fingers, and then grab your spanner and give it a bit more of a tighten, again not over tightening it too much. Now that piece is ready for your John Guest tubing to push straight onto it. Now you need to grab your ASV10 fitting. You'll notice there's a lever on the ASV10 that's pointed in the vertical position. That means the water is off, and when it's switched to the horizontal position, the water is on. So vertical for off and horizontal for on. Now before you fit that, you need to make sure you can identify which is your hot water and which is your cold water. So to do that, most flexi hoses will have a marking on them, red for hot and blue for cold. If yours doesn't have this, what you can do is actually run your hot water, feel which pipe gets warm, and that will identify the hot water one for you. So once you've identified that, you need to shut off the cold water valve underneath your sink, and then release the pressure from the pipes by turning on your mixer tap or tap at your sink. Make sure there's no water left in the lines. Once you've done that, you can unscrew the flexi hose from the copper pipe. This should be quite easy to do, as the nut should be only hand tightened. Fit your ASV10 to the flexi hose, tighten the nut. Again, only hand tightening required for that. And once that's done, fit the bottom of the ASV10 to the copper piping and hand tighten that nut also. So once you've done that, that's your ASV10 fitted, ready for the next step. Now we're going to show you how to assemble your water filter system. So you've got your two housings, your cartridges, your housing spanner and your lids all ready to go. So take one of the housings and place the cartridge inside, and the other housing, place the sediment filter inside. Then take the lid that has the bracket already attached to it, and you'll notice there's two ports on the top of them. One is marked in and the other one is marked out. Now it's very important to make sure that you take your sediment filter and place it on the side that is marked in, so it catches any of the dirt and rust particles, which protects the actual carbon cartridge itself. So screw that up as tight as you can with your hands, then place the other housing with the carbon cartridge in it on the side marked out, And once again, just screw that up by hand tightening. Then take your housing spanner and tighten that up just a little bit more. Now that's done, we're actually ready to show you how to connect that to all the fittings underneath your sink. Now we're ready to actually connect the housing systems to the fittings under the sink. So what we've actually done is cut a fairly lengthy piece of John Guest tubing. Now we've cut it that length so that it's easier to remove the housings to get them in and out to replace the cartridges in the future. It just gives you a bit more access to pulling them out and using a bucket to do that. So what we're going to do is connect one end of the John Guest tubing to the pressure limiting valve, just pushing that through until it fits in nice and tightly. Give it a tug, make sure it's connected. And then from the other end of the tubing, we're actually going to put that in the side of the housing that's marked in. So that's a critical factor, make sure that is the inside that's marked. So push that into that port, again making sure it's marked in. Okay, and then we've got another piece of John Guest tubing which actually runs up towards the faucet that we connected earlier. So the other end is facing up towards the faucet, which will push into that 7/16 fitting that we showed you earlier. Just pushes in exactly the same way, make sure it fits nice and tight. And then the other end of that tubing goes into the port marked out. Push that home, again just make sure it's fitted in nice and tightly, not going to come out. And then that's all your fittings connected. So just make sure, again, all the fittings are nice and tight, not going to come out anywhere. If you have made a mistake, you can push that little collar with your thumb and remove it quite easily, and then just reconnect it again. So once you've made sure that's all secure, you're ready to go and use your new water filter once you've switched your water back on, making sure that it's running. Also making sure that your ASV10 has that lever in the horizontal position. You'll find that everything should be ready to go. So we hope this has been a helpful instructional video. If you do have any questions or inquiries, feel free to call Clear Choice Water on 1300 001 752, or alternatively you can visit our website www.clearchoicewaterfilters.com.au. So once all your fittings have been connected, what you can do is go up to your water faucet, switch it on. Now what you'll notice is there's a fair bit of air coming out there initially, which is normal. So what we recommend that you do is run your tap for about 5 minutes. That will make sure all the air comes out of the line, and also flushes out your carbon cartridge, which is a recommendation for all your cartridges. So once you've completed that after 5 minutes, you might notice there's still a few air bubbles in your water, but this is completely normal and the water is quite safe to drink, and over time that will disappear. So we hope this instructional video has been helpful to you. Should you have any further inquiries, please feel free to call us on our toll-free number 1300 001 752, or visit our website www.clearchoicewaterfilters.com.au.